Hello, I'm Kenshin. Welcome to History Talk. Please move your fingers to subscribe. Click on the favorite message to share. Also please open the little bell. Thank you. Today's History Talk is the disproved theory of geocentric hollowing. What really exists at the Earth's core? It has been a question that scientists have been trying to find out for a long time. CNN published a brand new research report on February 21, 2023, pointing out that scientists already have evidence to explain that the innermost part of the Earth's true core is a 644-kilometer wide metal sphere, with iron and nickel as the main components, which means this iron sphere is the true core of the Earth. And the brand new discovery is likely to overthrow and rewrite the current textbooks of Earth science. If it is true, as scientists say, the structure of the Earth from the outside to the inside, divided into the Earth's crust, the Earth's letter, the liquid outer core, and the solid inner core, the latest discovery is that there is a real core of the Earth in the inner core. Such a small core is estimated by seismology, which studies the refraction and reflection of seismic waves in the Earth's interior. But of course, it is not possible to confirm the details of the Earth's structure. Speaking of the center of the Earth, then we have to mention the history of the once very hot theory of the Earth's empty mind. To the modern, even if people do not understand geology, will laugh at you, but if pulled back to more than 330 years ago, not to mention the general public, even the top astronomers are convinced today to talk about this period of history. In the past, there were no conclusions about the internal structure of the Earth, and various myths and beliefs existed. The first person to make an informed guess about the Earth's internal structure was the famous British astronomer Edmund Halley at the end of the 17th century. It was the comet named after him that boldly put forward the theory that the Earth's interior is actually hollow. What was the basis of his judgment? Halley found that the Earth's magnetic field is not as stable as he thought, and the compass cannot point accurately near the polar regions. In order to explain this phenomenon, he boldly assumed that the center of the Earth is hollow. To put it more clearly, the Earth's inner part is actually a big hole, which contains three concentric spheres that don't touch each other, and their sizes are different from the outside to the inside. Reference to Venus, Mars, Mercury, like a Russian doll set in the Earth. Halley more reference to the principle of the rings of Saturn. Deduced that these spherical shells rely on centrifugal force and gravity suspension will not collide. It is these floating ball caused by changes in the Earth's magnetic field. We've all wondered if this is the only layer of the Earth that has life on it. Halley boldly hypothesized there is life on these inner shells, and the whole structure of the Earth is like God's multi-story building, with different life on different floors. In order to complete the hollow Earth theory, Halley proposed that the interior of the spherical shell contains brine, relying on glass-like particles to block the surface ocean from flowing down to the bottom, and even put forward the hypothesis affecting the modern theory of the hollow Earth in 1716. That aurora borealis is a large hole in the bottom of the poles that emits light-emitting vapors. So the miraculous hollow Earth theory was born. And even Halley himself found it hard to believe, writing in his 1692 record, "The readers may at once reprove me for speaking of such an exaggerated and romantic hypothesis, until I have found sufficient evidence to support it." Halley's proposal of a hollow Earth without adequate experimental methods is, to some extent, the first hypothesis of a predictive nature in modern scientific history. But Halley was not the only one who supported the idea of a hollow Earth. In the same Germanic period, Athanasius Kircher, a talented Germanic naturalist, published a book called Mundus Subterraneus, which mentioned that there was a large hole in the center of the Earth, possibly like a stalactite cave, which contained magma and fire in addition to subterranean lakes, and that there was a vortex at the North Pole that drew seawater into the Earth's interior, which was then heated up and spewed out from the South Pole. However, compared to Halley's argument, it does not even have a supporting theory. We now know that Halley was very wrong, but at that time, scientifically and technologically, it was already known that rotating metal would generate a magnetic field. So if the Earth's magnetic field was different, it might mean that the Earth was not a hard rock, but a rotating rock or metal body, right? Since magnetic forces have a greater impact than gravitational forces, the Earth's inner crust must be in perfect balance to keep it from collapsing. There are many unanswered questions about the theory of an empty Earth, such as how the sunlight needed for life could reach the interior. Even though Halley's argument that there may be many concave mirrors in the Earth, reflecting off the poles to create a light as bright as the sun, is still weak. Because of this, the theory has not attracted much attention even in modern times, with most people responding, "Yeah, I see," and Halley himself not offering any further explanation or reinforcement of the theory. In the 18th century, the idea of a hollow Earth was studied by two mathematicians, Leonhard Euler and John Leslie. Those who are in the field of mathematics and science are surely impressed by Euler, the mathematician who made great contributions to calculus and geometry, who hypothesized that there is a warm spherical shell with a diameter of nearly 10,000 kilometers inside the hollow Earth, where high-tech races live, and Leslie, who believed that there are two concentric spherical shells underneath the Earth, and that there are two stars inside them to provide light, and even named the two stars inside the Earth as Hades and Queen of Heaven from the Roman mythology. However, this doctrine was vigorously promoted in the 19th century, and the key figure was the American John Cleves Sims, who loved to read books on natural history and published his own theory of the hollow Earth in 1818. "I maintain that the Earth is hollow, that there are numerous concentric spherical shells within it which are habitable, and that the Earth has an opening at the north and south poles of 12-16 degrees which receives the sunlight," he said. "The Earth has a 12 to 16 degree opening at the north and south poles, and already receives sunlight. I vow to prove it, and am ready to venture into the interior of the Earth, and hope the world will support me." As a prolific author and speaker, Sims was very diligent in publicizing the hypothesis, including the theoretically based book Sims, A Journey of Discovery, and in fundraising for an attempted expedition to the poles. The hypothetical basis for his claim that there are voids at the poles that bring light to the center of the Earth is the most widely known version of the theory of voids, and was one of the many fantasies about the poles before the polar expeditions came to fruition. Sims's claims attracted the attention of several key figures, including a wealthy Ohioan named James McBride, who not only wrote in favor of the hypothesis but also lobbied Kentucky Congressman Richard M. Johnson to support a trip to the South. James McBride, a wealthy man from Ohio, not only wrote articles in support of the hypothesis, but also lobbied Kentucky Congressman Richard M. Johnson to support an expedition to the Antarctic. Although Richard convinced then U.S. President John Quincy Johnson to go to the Antarctic, Richard persuaded then President John Quincy Adams to support an expedition to the Antarctic. Although Richard convinced then President John Quincy Adams, the bill was rejected by Congress until the next president, Andrew Jackson. When the next president, Andrew Jackson, took office, the 1836 Antarctic expedition was reintroduced with a very different plan. But Sims had died in 1829 and was not able to participate in the Antarctic expedition. The spokesman for the hollow Earth claim was succeeded by Ohio news reporter Jeremiah Reynolds. Jeremiah Reynolds, an Ohio journalist. In 1829, he joined a hunting expedition for the chance to travel to the South Pole, but was not only mutinied, but exiled by his fellow travelers and returned to the United States after a perilous journey. The more formal exploration was the 1838-1842 U.S. exploring fleet, led by Charles Wilkes. The purpose of the fleet was to establish charts, routes, scientific and species information, etc. The fleet sailed from the east coast of the United States around South America and then into the Pacific Ocean, and visited the Antarctic on the penultimate leg of the journey, but found nothing at the location of the Big Hole that Sims guessed to be there. But nothing was found at Sims' guessed location of the Big Hole. Although the theory of an empty Earth has arguably been cracked, it has been used to explain scientific discoveries whenever the opportunity arises. For example, when the bones of a mammoth were found in the Siberian ice sheet in 1846. It was suspected that it had wandered out from the interior of a large Arctic cave and was trapped in Siberia while searching for food, and that this was the result of finding undigested cones in the stomach of the mammoth and its sudden death. In 1864, Jules Gabriel Verne, the father of modern science fiction, wrote one of his works, Voyage au centre de la Terre, which describes a group of people exploring a world at the center of the Earth from an ice island volcano, describing that there are still oceans and ancient creatures at the center of the Earth. In 1869, Cyrus Reed Teed, an American alchemist and a fanatic of the theory of an empty Earth, boldly hypothesized in his book that the world we live in is actually the inner concave side of the Earth. Cyrus Reed Teed, an American alchemist and a fanatic of geospace theory, boldly hypothesized in his writings that the world we live in is actually the concave side of the Earth, that the sky above us is actually the center of the Earth, and that there is a civilization living on the opposite side of the crust, which cannot be detected due to the fog, and that even the moon we see is actually the inner shell of another planet. It was a Danish woman scientist, Inger Lehmann, who really put an end to the hollow Earth theory. Inger Lehmann. She measured earthquakes produce a variety of different waves, deduced that the Earth has a liquid structure closer to the outside, as well as the innermost solid core, these liquid substances stirring, flow caused by the magnetic field and changes. After countless experiments and verification, it can be concluded that the Earth's interior is not a hole. But a certain degree of Harley's statement is not wrong, because the Earth's internal structure there are many different layers, including the Earth's crust, the Earth's core, the heart of the Earth, and so on. There are many different layers of the Earth's internal structure, including the Earth's crust, the Earth's core, and the Earth's heart. Of course, in hindsight, Halley's hollow Earth theory has opened the door to questions that may never have been asked before, and has stimulated the interest of scientists in researching this matter. As a pioneer of the Age of Enlightenment, it can be said that this is a hypothesis that will be beneficial to the progress of future generations, and that the interesting thing about science is its ability to test, question, and modify its properties over and over again, and to deduce the correct answer from the incorrect proposition. If you like the program, you can share it with us by clicking like and subscribe. See you in the next episode.